Hi, I'm Cole from BlueCotton.com, and today I'm going to walk you through how to prep your screens for printing. Over here I have 3 different screens. This is, of course, this is called a screen, and it's composed of, our screens are composed of aluminum frame and then a mesh that is pasted over the top of that aluminum frame. Doesn't necessarily have to be an aluminum frame, doesn't necessarily have to be this shape and size. They can be any size you want depending on what you want to print on. If you want to print a big poster, you need a bigger size frame than this. But the important thing is that you have something that you can lay your mesh down on and get a nice tight stretch on it. This is our original frame before the mesh goes on it, and you can see it's just flat surface, and we stretch that mesh over it, which I'll show you later, and then we apply some glue on it and lay that down, and it dries and it keeps it nice and stiff on there. Alright, and then the mesh, there's different kinds of mesh. There's many different kinds, but there's 3 basic kinds that we use. One is 100, which is about the lowest we use, and then there's a 200 and then a 300. And sometimes we also use a 355, so I guess there's 4. But the 100 is the lowest mesh count, which means there's a lot more space in between the holes on the mesh. You can think of it like a screen door at your house that just gets tighter and tighter as you go up on the numbers. So the 100, we use it for really thick inks like white ink, or for like a deep red ink like a cardinal. And then we use a 200 mesh, which is what this is, and it's for mostly all colors like red, blue, black, anything like that. And then when you get up into higher mesh like 300 and 355, that's for like if you're printing a picture or a 4-color process or a black and white 2-color picture, or anything with great detail that you really want to make sure that is there when you print it. You got to use a higher mesh count to make sure that shows up. And that's really the basics of mesh. Okay, so now we're going to talk about stretching a screen and the basics of that. Here is what you're going to start out with, is just your frame of whatever size. And this is what you're going to end up with right here, fully stretched from here to here. Basically what you got to do is, if this is the first time using the frame, you just got to take it and stretch it. But if you're reusing a frame from a previous thing you've printed, then you have to get that old mesh off of there from where it's ripped or tore. And what we do is we grind this down with the grinder so we get a nice flat surface, because if it's bumpy, the mesh won't lay down flat, the glue won't soak all the way through to the aluminum, and it won't bond, and it won't last very long. So the first thing you got to have is a smooth surface. Alright, so I'm down here actually stretching a screen, and what I've done is, we stretch 2 at a time. I've got them laid across here, side by side. They're nice and flat and level to each other. And right now what I'm doing is I'm taking this mesh right here, and I'm laying it out, and I'm going to clamp it down. So when I'm going to do that, I just spread it out across here, start on one end, make sure it's inside all of these clamps, and then I start clamping it down. When I clamp it down, I just want to make sure that it's smooth, that there's no wrinkles in there or folds in there, because if there is, it won't be, if you have a fold here, it won't be as tight right here when you cut it loose as it is like over here or something. Alright, so that's it for the first step. And then the second step would be to actually start stretching the mesh. Now if you're doing this at home, One way would be to clamp down this side, go over there, and pull your mesh and clamp it down. Pull right here, clamp it down, pull right here, clamp it down, that way. But actually, I have a machine that will move these clamps and get it as tight as I want to. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Alright, so what I'm doing here is I'm upping the pressure. These clamps are being pulled back, and then I'm checking the pressure by hand to see how tight it actually is getting. Now once you get that stretched out over your screen, you're going to want to apply the mesh to the frame somehow to make it stick there. So if you've built a wood frame, which I'm assuming a lot of you would, then you could use a stapler. You could use you could probably use screws, but stapler would probably be the best way to do that. Or you could use glue and an activator like we have. You don't have to have the activator. The activator is just there because it makes the glue dry extra fast. So here's my glue, and here's my application tool, which is a cardboard square, and these cardboard squares are as handy as they can be. You can do anything with one of these little cardboard squares. You know, for some people, you might have, you know, if you built this frame out of wood yourself, you might have a lot of variance in this side from this side. So if you want something that's going to apply some pressure and keep this mesh pushed tight up against that frame. So I'm going to apply some glue. And now I'm going to smooth it out. I laid down a nice bead right there, just like you are with a caulk gun. Now you want to smooth that out with the whole width of the frame. Alright, now that I got my bead smoothed out there, I've got a activator, which is basically, I think it's just acetone, and all it does is it pulls all the moisture out of that glue, so it makes it dry really fast. So I'm gonna, and you can also do this at home if you just have something that's quick setup. Just place your hand or that weight or something beside that right here to where that mesh is pulled down tight against the frame. I'm gonna spray that on there. Pretty much all there is. What I just did right here, you're going to do that all the way around on all four sides of the screen. And the same thing on the other one here. And I'm going to make sure that it's dry, and then when it's dry, I'll cut the mesh around it, and I'll pull my screen up, and I'll have a newly stretched screen. Alright, so now I've stretched my screen. I got a nice, nice smooth mesh over here, and I've applied my glue down, and it's dry. And now I'm ready to cut the frame out of here so we can coat it with emulsion and then use it in our screen printing process. Alright, so here's our screen with just the mesh on it. Alright, now we're going to talk about emulsion. And emulsion is this pink stuff that is on this screen right here. And basically what it does is it gives you the ability to capture an image on a frame or on a screen, so that way you can print it onto whatever t-shirt or whatever it may be. Emulsion is pretty impressive stuff. I wish I knew more about exactly how it works or what makes it work, but I can tell you how we use it and how it reacts to different things. Alright, so now I'm going to show you how to actually apply emulsion onto the screen that you've just stretched. I've got three things here with me. I've got what's called a coater. This is a gallon of emulsion. And this is your screen that you just stretched. Now it's important to know that you don't do this out in the light because emulsion reacts to light and it will become exposed because of the light, but we're filming it out here so you can see what we're doing. Normally you do this in a dark room. First step is you want to open your bucket of emulsion, and it looks like that. And you're going to pour some into your trough or your coater. It's important that your coater stays clean. It's important that you don't drop your coater, and it's important that you have a nice smooth edge on one side or both sides. But if you have a nice smooth edge with no dents or cracks in it, you're going to get a nice smooth coat. If you drop it and then you get a dent in it, when you go to coat, you'll see a thick spot, streak all the way down the middle from where that dent was. So it's important to take care of your coater when you're doing this. So take your coater and your emulsion, and you're just going to pour some in there for coating screens. So I'm just going to take some and I'm just going to pour it in my coater. So now I've poured my emulsion in the coater, and now I'm ready to take it from here and apply it to our screen. So the easiest way for you to do this is probably take your screen, set it up on some kind of table at your house or garage or whatever, and then take your coater, firmly apply it, lift it up, and then run it up. Then when you get near the top, flip it up, just like that right there. So now I've got one coat of emulsion, and that's hardly going to be enough to print some shirts. So I'm going to coat the back side of it as well, so I get a thick enough layer of emulsion. So same thing, flip it over, apply the coater, lift it up, drag it up, applying pressure, flip it up towards the top, pull it off. Now I've got a coated, nice smooth coated screen, no buildup on it. Now I'm going to put this in a rack in our dark room and let it dry for about 20 minutes, and then I'm ready to apply an image to it. Alright, here's our screen that's been coated with emulsion, and it's been drying for about 20 minutes. In our next video I'll show you how to take an image and put it onto a screen. Thanks for watching. Is that right?